Welcome, everyone, to LDS Women Thriving. This is Lindsay here, and I am with my wonderful guest, ShayLee. ShayLee Hunter is currently Miss Utah Petite 2025. She has held several titles, including Miss Utah Prime 2023. Before being married, she also competed in the Miss America organization and won second runner up for Miss Davis County. She was also awarded Most Photogenic, People's Choice, Sponsorship Award, and her Presidential Service Award. She is currently trying to achieve the Lifetime Service Award. ShayLee works as the lead children's advocate for Safe Harbor Crisis Center, the only domestic abuse shelter in Davis County, Utah. She graduated in the fall of 2024 with her master's in professional communication. She has an undergraduate degree in communications from Weber State University, emphasizing civic advocacy. ShayLee has worked for numerous companies that strive for advocacy, such as the Ole Foundation, Hope Hero Foundation, Hidden Disability Sunflower Project, and currently with Girls with Guts. ShayLee's social impact platform is Invisible Disabilities, Visible Awareness. ShayLee was born with CIPO and eventually had her ostomy surgery at 16 years of age. ShayLee then had a colectomy
Yes.
in her early 20s, leaving her with short bowel syndrome, and she has been dependent on total parental nutrition for the majority of her life. ShayLee's goal with her platform as a disability advocate is to encourage body confidence and self-love for individuals with medical devices such as ostomies or feeding tubes, showing that beauty comes in all forms regardless of physical health conditions. Awesome. You've done a lot of amazing things, and it's so cool to see that despite a lot of difficult circumstances, you've been able to accomplish a lot. Even a master's degree. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I have accomplished a lot despite all my medical challenges. So I'm super grateful that I've been able to do most everything I wanted.
It's awesome. All right. So I first wanted to ask you to share with us your story and experiences of your health journey. You're welcome to take your time and just go through it.
Awesome. I will give you the Cliff Notes version. So at 6 months old, I was really sick, and my mom took me to the hospital because I just was crying a lot. And so they discovered that my intestine had twisted on itself. And during that time, it lost blood circulation to my intestine, obviously. So a third of my large intestine had died in that moment. So they rushed me into surgery. They removed a third of my large intestine. And in that moment, they kind of just discovered that my intestine muscles were paralyzed. So at 6 months old, I was diagnosed with chronic intestinal pseudo-obstruction. Pseudo just means false. So pretty much my intestines like think they're obstructed when they're not, and they just shut down, which is so great because my nerves work and I can feel everything. So
Oh my gosh.
I was in a lot of pain growing up, a lot of hospitalizations, a lot of surgeries, a lot of medication, treatment, testing, the whole thing. Around the age of 16 is when I got my ostomy bag. It was a very hard time in my life, but it was necessary at that moment. And it wasn't a fix. It was not a fix at all. I still struggled. I was still in the hospital. After I graduated high school, I got septic. They ended up finding out that my intestine somehow was leaking in my abdomen. They took me into surgery like 3 different times. They could not find this hole anywhere. So in that moment, they just decided to take out what the rest of the intestine I had at that moment and left me with short bowel syndrome. So, short bowel syndrome just means that you have a shorter amount of bowel. So, for me specifically, I have 20 centimeters left of what they saved.
Wow.
It's not a lot.
No.
With short bowel syndrome, obviously, I can't sustain my life that way. And so, I've always been dependent on a feeding tube since the age of 2. Feeding tubes are not great. The medication
No.
that is keeping me alive is also ruining my liver at the same time. And with feeding tube lines, they don't typically last very long. You can get infections, you can get clots, they can just break because they're not supposed to be used for long term for like 26 years. So I've had
Yes.
a lot of lines placed, a lot of infections, different things. So the other issue is like you can lose access and places to put these lines because when you pull them out, it's like you can't put them in the same spot because there's either scar tissue or it closes off. There's a lot of issues with
Yeah.
that as well. So, because of all of those things, I actually qualify for a 3 organ transplant list and I'm registered through Nebraska Medical Center. So, I would be getting a small bowel, a pancreas, and a liver.
Wow. And how long have you been on that list? Has it been a little while or?
So I got approved to be on the list. I'm not active as of currently just because I my health has been really great right now. And so I've been able
Good.
to, live my 20s, which I'm super grateful for. And, that can change at any moment, though. So we're kind of just watching my liver very closely and my access. And if anything changes, I would immediately go super high on the list. But with that
Wow.
being said, it's a long time. I hear people wait 4 years for a transplant. Like it's
It's not for the faint of heart.
no, and it's also not a fix either. Like if I were to get a transplant, I would still have to have medical help the rest of my life. Like it's not a cure for what I have. So it's also like I could potentially end up with something worse than I'm dealing with right now and be in a position where I am sicker or in the hospital more consistently than I am currently. So it's kind of like a gamble of like
Yes.
what's gonna happen. Like, is it gonna help? Or, transplant, there's a lot of rejection too. So
Yeah.
who knows? So I'm just, playing it by ear, trusting in God, I guess. Like when
Yeah.
I guess the doctors too, like I hope that they have the expertise and know what they're doing at the end of the day, because that's who I kind of have to look to and trust in this moment.
Wow. You've had a journey. And it's not, I mean, some people, they have health challenges that just hit them halfway through their life. But no, it seems like for you, it's never not been a struggle.
Yes.
Yeah. What for you, like with your journey, what were some of the most difficult moments? I mean, was it when you had to get an ostomy bag, or was there any surgeries specifically that were extremely hard to get through, like in your journey?
I think one of the things I have been super grateful for is that I don't know any different in my life. Like, this has just always been my life. I don't have anything to compare it to. I wasn't healthy one day and woke up sick. So, I think that would be a lot harder for me to have to deal with in that case. So, I'm grateful that I don't have anything to compare it to. It is just my life. I think the hardest part was just always being in the hospital. Like, always just being stuck in a hospital. Like, as much as my parents could be with me or aunts, uncles, grandma, friends, like whoever could come and visit, they would, but the world kept going. Like
Yeah.
despite me being sick, laying in a bed and I love life and I want to live it and I want to live it fully, but like being in a hospital bed, not being able to do that was absolute torture if I'm
Yeah.
honest. Like for a good reason. Like obviously I needed help at that moment, but like it just sucked being able to miss out on so many things growing up. I sometimes was in the hospital during holidays or birthdays,
Mm.
or just missing out on things that my family was doing. Like there were several vacations that my family took that I was in the hospital, which like is fine. Like I don't expect
No.
everybody to like not have a good life just because sick in the hospital or struggling. Like I want people to still enjoy life and do their things, but I just like not being able to be there and experience it with my family because I'm very family oriented and I love spending time with my family, so not being able to do those things or be with my friends was really hard.
I believe it. No, that's difficult. And there's been other guests I've had on this podcast that have felt similarly. They've had to live a lot of in and out of hospitals, and that is not an easy thing. What were your original thoughts and emotions when you needed to get an ostomy bag. How did you work through these? Because I can imagine that was a shift in your expectations and in your journey.
So actually, they had suggested to get an ostomy bag when I was younger, but my parents were like, "This is so life changing. Like, we don't want to make that decision for her." Like, as my parents, like they really did advocate for me the best way possible, and I think my parents handled my health and everything that came with it the best that they could. Like, there's not a playbook of like how to take care of
Yes.
sick patients. So I really do appreciate my parents, but their one thing that they did was not go through with the surgery until I was old enough to make that decision. Even though I wasn't 18 and they could make the decision for me, they wanted it to be my decision because I would have to live with it the rest of my life. Not them, me.
Yeah.
So I did not want to get it at 16. I was like, you know what? I've struggled my entire life. Like, absolutely not. Like, I read so many horror stories about it. I, was on Facebook groups where people were complaining about not being able to find love or not feeling disgusting or, all the stereotypes, all the stigmas, all the things surrounding it. And I just was like, no, like, I'm done. I've had enough of living this life of just being hospitalized and pain all the time. Like, this isn't even a guaranteed fix. Like, I don't want to go through with it. And my parents were fine. They were like, we don't necessarily love that decision, but we will support you because it is your life. So for a long time, I just kind of was accepting to like die pretty much, sadly. Um, but in that moment, I kind of realized a lot. I had a niece and a nephew, and I spent a lot of time with my family during those moments and things like that. And I couldn't keep looking at life with my niece and nephew and not being there. Like, I really do think that they were the ones that kind of made it for me to be able to do that surgery because they were so little and they loved me and I loved spending time with them. And it just like, it felt wrong to like just leave my family based on kind of a selfish decision. Like, even though it was justifiable, it still like felt kind of selfish. So
Yeah.
I decided to go through with it, but as a 16 hormonal girl, I decided I was going to use it to my advantage. So I told my parents that I would only do the surgery if I could get the dog I always wanted.
Wow.
Uh, my parents made a counter offer, and it was, you can have the dog, but you have to buy the dog.
Okay. A little
Okay,
bit of negotiation there.
okay, they knew full well that I could not work because of how sick I was. So they were like, there's no way she's going to come up with all this money to buy the dog she wants. So the dog I wanted was always a Yorkie growing up. I love Yorkies. They are not cheap at all.
No, they are not.
So my parents were like, okay, like, great, we're getting what we want. We don't know if she's gonna get what she wants though, because like this is the counter offer, right? Okay, so I was like, awesome, it's a deal. So I set me up a little GoFundMe page and I sent it to all my friends and family, and I got the dog I wanted.
That's awesome.
It was actually really sweet because at that time I was actually in high school, and a lot of my friends and my whole choir actually raised money and donated to my fund so I
Mm,
could get the dog I
so
wanted.
sweet.
A lot of my family too, extended family, like everybody that knew me in my life, like knew what I was going through, and they were like, "Why not?" Like.
That's
So
awesome.
I went on KSL and I found the dog, and we went to the owners and everything, and we told them the story, and they were like, "Yes, absolutely, we can hold on to the dog until she's out of the hospital and she's like feeling well enough to take care of this dog." And they actually came back and they were like, "You know what? You've raised this amount of money." So I had like a down payment for the dog. And I was like, "Can I reserve the dog? I'll pay you more like once I get the rest of the money in my GoFundMe." And they were like, "No, we'll just accept the deposit." like this is for a good cause. Like we believe that you should have
Oh,
a dog. And so they literally just were like, yeah, we'll just take this amount. Like it's we know the dog's going to be cared for and that matters more to us than anything else. So after I got out of the hospital, like literally on the drive home, I was like, I want my dog. I want my dog. Let's go get my dog. My mom's like, you don't like, are you sure? Like, do you want to rest a few days and then we can go get your dog? I was like, no,
I'm like, nope.
I did what I said I was going to do. I want my dog now. So we drove over there and I got my dog, and literally it was the best decision of my life. I'm so happy that we were able to come to a compromise. So there's
That's awesome. And as a 16-year-old girl, I mean, I'm sure that was meant the world to you.
it did.
That's awesome. Love that story. Thank you for sharing that. During health journeys, just like you mentioned before, there's always a slight fear of death coming sooner than you'd hoped. Walk me through what that journey has been like for you too. I'm sure that you also had a like wondering if you would get married or wondering if you would go to college and just almost like a just confusion about what the future would look like. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So a lot of doctors told me when I was very young that I probably wouldn't live past the age of 20, that I probably would never be able to like graduate from high school or do further education, that I'd probably never be independent, live on my own, work full time, be married, have kids, any of that. I did not like being told no growing up, like a lot of other people. And so I took everything that they said as a challenge. I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do me, and I'm going to do what you guys are telling me I can't do. Because as somebody who didn't have a lot of control over what was happening in my life, I wanted some control. I wanted anything that I could control, and things that I could control, I grasped onto, honestly. So my parents also kind of were that way too. Like, they were like, well, if it's not hurting her, like, then why can't she do it? Kind of thing. So my mom was like, absolutely not. I am not homeschooling her. Like, she's going to public school. Like, her illness, yes, she's sick, but that doesn't mean that she can't be around normal kids or have a proper education. And my mom's like, no. So she sent me to school. Uh, I'm glad that she did, because I was very social and I needed that outlet. Even though it was hard, and missing a lot of school is always hard and catching up, but it made me really learn how to figure things out, I guess, especially when you're sick. So I did graduate on time with my class for high school.
Awesome.
So I was super proud of that. And my mom was too. Like, everybody was proud, because during my ostomy surgery, I missed half of my junior year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
actually, I wasn't going to go back. I was going to get my GED. And I was like, I don't want to do my senior year with an ostomy bag. Like, the first year of having an ostomy bag, like, there's a lot of changes. Like, you're still trying to find the right products. Your
Hmm.
stomach is still like unswelling. So then you have a lot of leakage around the bag as things like start to unswell. There's just a lot to figure out in the first year. My mom was like, nope, you're going to school. And I was like, oh my gosh, literally the worst year of my life. But I do think it made me stronger in some ways. It was horrible, but it's okay. But I did get to graduate. I ended up having to do like a credit recovery class, and it's okay. Like, I probably didn't have the best GPA, or I wasn't going to like some Ivy League college or anything, but I
Yes.
graduate, and that was my parents' goal. Is like, they wanted me to be able to graduate, and so I ended up walking and all of that. And honestly, it was great. It was really great. And then I was sick for 2 years after that, like in and out of the hospital, like every week after high school. Like, I honestly don't know how I still am alive today after all that I was
Oh my
going through
gosh.
in high school. It was so bad. But then they did end up taking out my intestine at that time, and my quality of life just totally changed. Like, I truly haven't been as sick. I haven't been hospitalized as often. And after I got out of the hospital and kind of recovered for a few weeks, I applied to college by myself without my parents.
That's awesome.
It came in the mail, and my mom literally was like, "Did you apply for college?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "You just got out of the hospital, like being in the hospital for 8 weeks. Like, can we slow down a little bit?" Like, no, mom, nope. We can't.
Awesome.
We almost just died. We're not going to slow down. We're going to try and do the things I want in life before that happens. Like, I feel like any time in my life where I've been super sick, septic, I've had MRSA, I've had tons of blood infections where, it's been such a close call that I don't take any day for granted, and I'm not going to wait around for things to happen. I'm not going to wait for the right time or the right opportunity. Like, if I want to do something, I'm going to chase after it and I'm going to go get it because I don't have time to wait. Like, you never know what's going to happen,
No.
especially in like chronic illness, like normal life in general. Like, you never know, but also, like, you never know if I'm going to break my line tomorrow or if I'm going to come up with an infection or if I'm going to catch something from somebody else. Like, COVID was a really scary time for me
Ugh, I can only
specifically.
imagine.
So, I mean, I, I'm not going to wait around. Like, tomorrow's not guaranteed for anybody. And I don't think anybody should wait for the perfect time or the right opportunity to do something. Like, if it's something you're dreaming about, go do it. Go do it now. Don't wait.
Wow. Girl, you're a go-getter. It's awesome. It's difficult to go through these challenges, but to be able to look in the face of them and say, "You can't tell me what I am. I can choose." That takes bravery. That takes courage. That's not an easy thing, and it's admirable, honestly. And I know that you've gotten involved. I mean, in your bio, you talk a lot about what you've been able to do when with like beauty pageants and with inspiring other people that have disabilities that, you're still just as beautiful. Tell me more about that journey as well.
So after I got my ostomy, I had a really hard time being able to even just look at myself or feel confident or just feel pretty in general. Like, honestly, it just was really hard for me, understandably so. But especially as like a 16-year-old, like, you're already
Yeah.
trying to fit in, like, and then all of that was going on, and it was really hard, really hard. And then after I got like septic for those 8 weeks after high school and had like the total colectomy, my hair all fell out. So then I was having to regrow my hair, and like my hair, like, I don't think people understand. Like, hair is a good thing. Like, if you are attached to your hair, and I feel like a lot of women are, like, the long, beautiful, like, I'd always had long, beautiful hair because I was on cheer, I did dance, I did all these things. And so I always had long, beautiful hair. And when my hair fell out, like, we had to cut it really short. And so it was like in a pixie cut. And it was not something I had ever really wanted to do. It wasn't really by choice. At least I wasn't bald. Like, I will give that. Like, I wasn't
Yes.
completely bald, but it just, everything else that I was going through, like, that kind of just was like something else I just didn't want to deal with. So, having short hair too and having to go through all the like regrowing stages just kind of really sucked. And I honestly just, I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't love myself. Like, it was just really hard. And I used to model before I lost all my hair. And so then I stopped doing that. And I was just going down like a really bad path because I just felt like everything in my life was like just not fair. And I wasn't in control of what was going on ultimately. Um, there was a photographer who posted in one of like a Facebook group, one of those Facebook groups, and was like, "I'm looking for somebody with short hair. Like, it's hard to find somebody that models with short hair, but I want to shoot somebody with short hair to like have in my portfolio so I can show other women who may have short hair or are going through things that like You can also be beautiful with short hair. Well, somebody had commented my name on there. And I just was like, I don't know about that. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm ready to do photos. And she reached out to me. Her name's Sarah. And she was like, it's a free photo shoot. Like, I just want this for my portfolio, but like, I'd love to have you. And I was like, okay. So I ended up going and doing the photo shoot. And when I got the images back, I literally just cried. Like, they were so beautiful and I looked beautiful in them. That was the other thing, like, is I looked beautiful and I don't think I had ever seen myself in the way that somebody else had seen me. And so, like, being able to see like her work and the way that she captured me, I was like, why am I like thinking like this? Like, look at these photos. And I still have those photos and I still love them and I still like, I have them up in my house as like a reminder of like, you can be beautiful no matter where you're at in life. Because like, she did kind of take some pictures like with my feeding tube and my ostomy bag and things like that, and I never really like had those in pictures before, but it was so beautiful just to see her artwork. And so I started working with her more, and she added me to like her private Facebook group, and I had my pictures like shared in the Facebook group, and other people had started commenting. It was like, oh my gosh, like, she's showing her ostomy bag, her feeding tube, like she has short hair. Like, why am I so afraid to take photos with my stretch marks? Or,
Yeah.
like with the postpartum baby weight that I can't get rid of, or this or
Yes.
that. And it's like everybody had started commenting and was like, if she can do it, why can't I? And I feel like that's where I kind of like flipped a switch and I was like, wow, like, why am I so afraid of showing the things that like are just a part of me, but also like something that like is keeping me alive too. And I think that goes back to like the media. Like, we spend so much time looking at like Victoria's Secret models and like being told that women should look a certain way, and that's it. Like, you have to look this
Yeah.
way or you're not beautiful. And the industry has changed, but it's still like, as I was young and in that age, it was very much so like, this is the way you should look or you're not beautiful. And I still really don't see a lot of women now with ostomy bags or with feeding tubes in any pictures. We have come away with like having Down syndrome models or people in wheelchairs and different things like that. And I love that. And I love that we have that representation now, but we still don't have every representation that we need. And that's okay. We're getting there. But I wanted to see more representation of me. And so I was like, why not do that? Why not do it myself? So that's why I kind of started getting into modeling and things like that, is because I truly just wanted to show people that like, it's okay to model or be in a music video or TV series, because I've done all those things with an ostomy bag. Like, you can still have those same experiences. And so, yeah, I think it all started with a girl named Sarah.
That's awesome. And it all comes back to the fact that you haven't just let life happen to you. You have made your life what you want. And not just that, you've been able to leave an impact on many people. A lot of people you may probably never meet that see your pictures and are inspired.
Yes.
That's amazing. What part has your faith in God played in your physical challenges?
I think it's been a love hate relationship. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I sure do. Especially when I was younger. I didn't have the best family home ward growing up that was super supportive of my illness. I had a lot of girls and leaders who felt like my illness was something that I was faking, that it wasn't real, that I used it as an excuse. And so I didn't have the support I needed, especially during that time. But we still went to church and did all the things as a family. Like, my mom really just was like, you're better than them. Like, don't let it get to you. Like, it's okay. Not everyone's going to believe you. And I do think that it really did teach me a lesson, like at such a young age, that yeah, not everyone's going to believe me. I still have those issues today. I've had that during college, I've had that in my jobs, I've had it everywhere in life. And so at a young age, I learned that really fast, that not everyone's going to believe it because they can't see it. I don't look sick. If you don't see my ostomy bag or my feeding tube, which are very easy to hide, you're not going to know that, like, I'm on a 3 organ transplant list. Like, you're not going to think that because I take my medication, I follow up with my doctors, I do all the things that I need to do to stay as healthy as I can so that I look healthy and I can do the things I want. But with that being said, I really struggled because I had girls that had told me that, like, it was like my fault that I was sick. Like, there were all these nasty rumors about like my parents sinning, and I was like sick because of their sins. And yeah, I'm surprised that people can make up such horrific drama in the church, but it did happen to me and it was sad. And I do think too, like a lot of people, I was kind of like the checklist of, like, if I was in the hospital, people tried to come and visit because they wanted to check off a box. And that was really upsetting too. Like, I wanted people that wanted to be my friend outside of just me being sick. Like, I did not like when people just came and visited me in the hospital and that was it. Like a one time thing, like, okay, cool. Um,
Yeah.
I also, like, a lot of the activities that they planned were always around things that I couldn't do. So my
It's hard.
yeah, my leader had a swimming pool in her backyard, so they did a lot of pool stuff. She also had a boat, so they went to like Bear Lake, Lake Powell, things like that, and did boat stuff. I wasn't able to get my central line wet, so my feeding tube cannot get wet because if it does, I can have an infection. So I don't swim. I can't swim. I can't go on a boat. If it gets pulled out, there's another issue. Also, food. Food was very much involved in everything, which understandably so. Like, that's just a social part of the world. Like, food is a
Hmm.
very social thing. But as somebody who was unable to eat food, that just kind of seemed like I was always excluded. Um, but I did have to learn how to be around food and do stuff. It sucked because I had to do that at school too, and then I had to do it at home,
Everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah. But it just felt like I was just an outcast, and it was really hard. And I actually, like, went away from the church because of that, because of the experiences that I had. It was really hard for me to just be there constantly when I felt like I wasn't wanted by my ward, and it kind of pushed the rest of my family away too because of the treatment that I was receiving from the ward. It wasn't until I was actually really septic and I was driving home before I spent that 8 weeks in the hospital. I was driving home with my dad and I just told him, I was like, something's wrong. And we were literally at a nice hospital, but our insurance didn't cover it super well. So he drove 14 hours straight to get me to the hospital in Utah so that we didn't have to worry about like the insurance
Yeah.
aspect of things in Nebraska. But I remember just looking at him and I was like, Dad, something's wrong. Like, something's not right. I could just feel it. I was like, we need to drive home because we were going to spend a few extra days in Nebraska and just have some fun after all the testing and everything. But
Yeah.
I was like, we need to go home. Like, I just had this feeling and I was like, we just need to go home. Like, something's not right. I don't feel good. Like, take me to the hospital. He was like, okay. That man drank so many energy drinks, which
Oh
he
my
doesn't
gosh.
really do ever, but he was like, okay, it was a 14-hour drive. I think he stopped once or twice to like grab food, energy drink, go to the bathroom. But when we were driving across Nebraska, the last thing I remember before waking up in the hospital was just the sky. I'm a very visual person, but just the sky was so beautiful. Like, because they don't have mountains in Nebraska. So I all I could see for like miles and miles and miles was just this beautiful sunrise, and the clouds were beautiful, and it was just orange and pink, and there were just all these beautiful colors, and all I could think was like, this could be it. Like, this could be it. But I just remember like kind of speaking to myself, and I was like, God, like, if it's my time, it's my time. But like, if not, like, please just save me. Like, please. Because like I want to live life, and I promise, like, I kind of just like, like, I was like, I promise, like, I will do better. I will do better. And after I woke up from like the whole 8 weeks and all the craziness, like, I actually sought out a singles ward, and I was like, I'm gonna go back to church because I kind of made a promise with God. He kind of saved my life. I feel like I was like
Yes.
kind of like stuck to my promise. I'm like, I know this sounds so silly, but like truly, like I was like, okay, got to keep my end of the deal. So I ended up going and just looking, and I found a singles ward. I went to that singles ward, and they actually, the day that I went, had switched bishoprics. They introduced the new bishop and his counselors and everything, and it was a whole new bishopric. And they had like split the singles ward in half. They got one bishopric here and the other bishopric here. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it's kind of like I'm starting fresh. Like, I'm not just jumping into a ward, but I'm starting fresh. I do truly believe that, like, that man was called to be my bishop for a reason, because I still am very close to him to this day. He always used to call me like Angel, but he is probably one of the reasons why I still am super religious now and faithful, because even though I felt like really horrible about not going to church and not being a part of the church for so long, and like just coming back, he was like, no, you're here. Like, you're here. And anytime I was sick or struggling or just wanted to walk away from it all in the moment, like, he would still call me and he's like, hey, like, we're still here. We're still here. But he made it super inclusive for me as well, because they usually do like the linger longers after for like
Hmm.
board with food and stuff. So he actually put me on the committee,
That's awesome.
so I could help, because I love to cook. I do. That's kind of like my way of being involved in the social aspect of cooking. So I was on linger longer committee for quite some time in the singles ward, and it was really fun. Like, it was super fun. I loved it, and I think it was a way for me to also include other people, because there were other girls and men that were in the singles ward that were like gluten or dairy free or things like that, and I just always made sure that there was something for them. And I always received texts like every Sunday of just like, thank you so much for like including me. Like, I know my dairy free or my gluten free or whatever it was, like, is hard, and I just appreciate you like including me. Like, that's nice to think about. So I do think that that calling was specific for me to also include other people. But I still could call that man and he would answer and he would be there. But he
That's awesome.
he knew exactly how to answer the questions that I had and make sure that whatever I was doubting or whatever I needed, I had. And so,
That's special.
yeah, I'm like, I still wish he was my bishop to this day. I'm like, I've struggled now that he's gone, but I I moved after they released him. I moved, and I moved up to Riverton. And the first day that I went to church, they called a new bishop when I
Wow.
went to my new
You,
ward.
you
Yeah,
keep starting new trends
and
without even trying.
so they called a new bishop, and I absolutely fell in love with him and his family too. I was like an hour away from my family and where they lived, and there were several times that I had to call on him to help me with my medical stuff because my family was just too far away.
Yeah.
And him and his wife always showed up and were super helpful. So I do believe that he was called to be there in that moment too. He actually married me and my husband. And then when we moved into our ward, me and my husband went to church and they called a new bishopric.
Wow. This is awesome. This is
So
great.
I
You're
don't
like,
know.
wow, this
I'm
bishoprics
just,
are just for me.
I'm like, no, I really feel that way though. Like every time I go to a new ward, that day they always, I just show up and it's a new ward. They either split it, they either get like a new bishopric, they do something, and it's new. And I'm like, I love walking into something where I'm like, it's new. Like, I'm not just walking into like something that's already been established where people have like if they have their cliques or their friends, or they're just stuck in their ways. Like, it's like, okay, we're gonna shake it up a bit. Like, Shaylee's coming, we gotta shake it up. Like, but I've loved my ward, or I guess it's family ward. Yeah, I've loved my family ward, my Relief Society sisters, and everyone has been super helpful. Sometimes I work graves, and so I don't always make it to church, but they always make sure that they reach out and make sure that I'm okay. And with my health, even, like, sometimes it's just hard going to church too. Like, that's another thing. Like, even though I don't go to church every Sunday, like, sometimes it's just hard getting there because of my health. And I feel like some people, like, don't love that because I'm not constantly there, and they judge me because of it. But it really is just comes down to, like, it's hard on my health, especially 9 a.m. church. Like, if I got 9 a.m.
Oh,
church, like, that's hard on my body.
hard for everyone.
Yeah, it's hard for everybody, but it's harder for me because of my health. Like, and so I try really hard, and I know I could probably try harder, but I'm glad that my ward still reaches out and don't just leave me on this faraway island when I'm sick.
What I'm hearing from you is that we shouldn't judge, and everybody has their different challenges, and we need to respect those. And it I'm sorry that you had to go through such a hard journey as a kid and as a young woman. I think it's very painful that there are, even though they're just kids, it's left an impression on you, and it was really difficult for you.
Yeah.
You've been able to come through the other side, and you probably have a very unique perspective now about anyone that has unique challenges, and not judging. I think that's beautiful that you've been able to come to this point.
Thank you.
Were there any specific people, scriptures, or experiences with God you would like to share that helped you grow on your health journey?
I think, like I said, like, my singles ward Bishop Burton and his wife, they they always knew what to do. I think one night I was really struggling and I just wanted to give up. I was like, I'm done with everything. Like, boys were hard, my home life was hard. Like, it was hard being in a house where I didn't feel safe, or like my room was the only place where I did feel safe, and where I felt like there was a lot of drama around me being religious and my family not being. And so, like, just being around that was really hard for me at home, and just with my health and dating and everything. Like, sometimes it just gets overwhelming, especially as a young adult trying to figure things out. So I know one night I was just so upset, and he was like, come over. And I was like, okay. And I came over, and him and his wife were talking to me, and I was just like crying, and I was like, I'm so sorry, like, I ruined your night, kind of thing. And he was like, no, like, I love seeing your face. Like, I love it. I love it so much. And he was like, can I give you a blessing? And I was like, no. Like, I I've really struggled with, like, people giving me blessings, because I kind of have always just felt like they tell me what I want to hear after I tell them, like, after I, like, tell them what I'm struggling with and everything, and then the prayer lines with that, I'm kind of always, like, skeptical. I don't know. I have a hard
Mhm.
time with
Yeah.
prayer. Prayer is, like, my biggest thing that I struggle with. I could read the Book of Mormon all day long. I could teach a lesson. I could do all those things, but prayer is the one thing I really struggle with. And so, and he knew this. He knew this. And so I was like, no, like, I just told you everything, and you're just going to tell me what I want to hear. And obviously I was being kind of rude, but in the moment, but this man knew. And he was like, no, I'm not giving you the blessing. And I was like, well, who is? And the doorbell rings. And I was like, okay. And one of his counselors walked in, Brother Morgan. And he was like, this man's going to give you a blessing. And I was like, okay. And I knew Brother Morgan. I loved Brother Morgan. Like, I loved his counselors. Like, we were very close, all three of us. And I was like, well, why is Brother Morgan giving me the blessing? And he goes, because I know that you were going to say what you said. Like, he knew. He was like, I knew you were going to pull whatever stuff you were just pulling. And he goes, Brother Morgan here. didn't hear anything about what's going on in your life. He was like, he doesn't know what's going on. Like, only I do. And only Betty, his wife, knows. And he goes, so Brother Morgan's going to give you a blessing. And he doesn't know anything about what needs to be said to you. So it's going to come from God, like it usually does, but it's going to come from a different person who you're going to believe it better. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, man, like, prove me wrong then, kind of thing. Like, this man knew. He knew. So Brother Morgan gave me a blessing, and actually Betty had wrote down what he said. And so I still actually have that paper of that blessing. But it truly meant a lot that, like, as somebody who struggled with, like, knowing if God hears me or sees me because of my health, and just feeling like I've never had my prayers answered because, I've always asked to be, like, cured, or like to feel better or not be in pain. And so I always felt like there was always that disconnect from, like, prayer in that sense. And to have that prayer given to me and be told what I needed to be told, but by somebody who had no idea what was going on in my life, it really just, like, gave me like the answers that I needed, but also, like, knowing that, like, oh my gosh, like, how did you all know? Like,
Yes.
I'm like, are you guys all in on it together? But no, it just, like, it really was such a strong point in my life where I was like, wow, like, I was humbled in that moment for sure. But I think definitely Bishop Burton was definitely sent to me specifically, maybe other people, but I do think he was called from God to help in some ways, because he definitely did help in many ways, probably ways that he doesn't even know to this day, that he truly helped me overcome certain obstacles.
Angels come in so many different ways into our life. Many are unseen, but if we look closely into our lives, it's very obvious the Lord has a hand through people
Yes.
that come in and out of our lives and leave a little imprint, little mark, especially if we're having a difficult journey or a challenge that we need extra help. I think it's awesome that you have such a cool relationship with your bishop and he was able to be there and be an angel in your life. All right. What aspects of your life are you most excited for, looking forward to your future?
I think the most excited thing about just life in general is I've always wanted to be a mom, like, always. I feel like that's been definitely a calling of mine. And I was always told that I wasn't able to have kids, so that's, like, nothing new. It's sad, but, like, I was told at a very young age that, like, I probably would never be able to conceive or carry a baby just because of all my health problems, which is okay. Like, it sucks, but it's okay. Um, but I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to get kids any other way, because it costs a lot of money, or foster care, like, you're just dealing with a lot. So, anyways, I'm excited for whatever the future holds and however I get my kids. I know, like, in my patriarchal blessing, it talks about me being a mom and having kids. And sometimes I read that over because the way it's worded, like, it definitely is like your kids, but, like, I can't have kids. So I'm like, what? I'm excited to, like, finally realize what that means too. Of, like, where are my kids? What's going on? Like, when are they coming? Like,
Yes.
but in the meantime, like, I am just super excited to, like, have my nieces and nephews. But I will be excited the day that I do get to be a mom finally and have my own little family.
God's promises are sure.
Yes.
That's one thing that is sometimes difficult to hold on to. And I'm sure it was when you were young reading that, being like, I'm going to live to be old enough to be a mom? Like, really?
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
will. It will happen. God's promises are sure.
Yeah, I got my patriarchal blessing around the time I got my ostomy bag, because, yeah, I just hated life. And it was such a good, like, patriarchal blessing, but I kind of was upset with it at first. I'm like, I kind of wanted a new one. if I was really
We
honest.
do.
Yeah, because, well, my biggest thing was I wanted to know something about my health. Like, I wanted answers for my health, especially like where I just said, like, I feel like God's never answered me about, anything regarding my health. Like, I've always been sick, I've always been in pain, like I've wanted him to fix it. I know he doesn't work that way now, but like as a child, you're told to, pray to God, ask for what you need. Okay, God, I want my illness gone. Okay, God, I don't want to be in pain. Okay, it doesn't work like that, but still, one can hope. But I just wanted answers. I was like, is this my life? Like for the rest of my life? Is it gonna get better? Am I gonna live? Like I wanted answers regarding my health and what I should do. And me and my family spent like all week fasting. Okay, not all week, but like fasting, prayer, all the things. And when I get this patriarchal blessing, it literally was so short and sweet, but it did not say anything about my health. Not one thing in my patriarchal blessing is talked about my health at all. And I kind of was upset at first, like really upset. And I even talked to Bishop Burton about it. I was like, this is crap. Like, 100%, this is awful. I was like, read it. I'm like, it doesn't give me anything. It's telling me things that are gonna happen in my life and the promises and all the things. And I'm like, and I can't. Like, none of this is gonna happen because of my health. And I was like, but also, like, and I love Bishop Burton. He makes me see like everything in a different way. He was like, I think you need to be humble and reread that a few times throughout your life. But he was like, nope, you are not getting another one. And he goes, go be humble about it. And I was like, okay, whatever.
We love hearing that, right?
I was like, whatever, old man. But the more that I've grown and matured and read over this patriarchal blessing, the more in my life, I've just realized and come to realize that like my health is not the most important thing about me or who I am. It's an aspect of me. It's definitely helped me become the person that I am now. And we've had a long way to get to where I am now, but like, it's not me. My illness is not me, and it doesn't define me. And I've had to really come to realize that over the last like several years. But now looking back at my patriarchal blessing, I was like, yeah, he didn't have to talk about it. He didn't. He already knows. But also, like, why waste the breath? Like, it's not it's not about my health. It was never about my health.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that there's others that have received their patriarchal blessings and felt similarly.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's
And
hard. It's hard when you don't get the answers you want or need, or you get a different answer and you're like, what is this? Trying to look at it from a different point of view or perspective.
being open to what God has to tell you. Sometimes it's not what we want to hear.
Yeah.
I just love being doing this podcast because I get to just sit at the feet of people that have been through some really tough stuff and just get to learn and listen to your journey. And now we get to share it with others and help them on theirs. For someone that is in the beginning stages of this journey, or they're young and they've gotten to a point where they're just frustrated and they look ahead and they don't see much opportunity, or their dreams don't seem to be what will be a reality, what is your message for them?
That's so hard. I'm like, it's okay to feel how you feel. Feelings are normal. And I think a lot of people forget that like, feel all the feels first. Don't stay in it, but feel all the feels for a moment. And then when you're ready, find a community, whether that's in the church, whether that's in a chronic illness community, whether that's your family or your friends or whatever it is. But like, just find a community to be in, because I feel like my entire life when I was alone, those were the worst moments. I stewed in my misery. I was mad at the world. I wanted to die. I wanted all the things, right? I I was selfish. But like when you're a part of a community and you're doing stuff, whether that is service or like musical theater or whatever it is, like when you're with other people, it just makes life so much better. Like even if you are in pain, like being in pain in the hospital with somebody there is way better than being in the hospital with nobody there in pain. Like it
Very
truly
true.
is. Like being alone really sucks. So don't isolate yourself. Like I know it's hard to ask for help. I know it's hard to want help, to accept the help. I need to work on that every day myself, but have help, ask for help, or just a friendship, a conversation, whatever it is. Just go find something so you're not alone.
Beautiful. Thank you again for being willing to share your story and inspire and help people that are going through similar challenges. I just appreciate you taking your time to do this. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I really appreciate being here and talking with you finally. It's been so good to see you.
Thank you. And for all of you guys, share this podcast with others that you feel like it could lift. And we hope you guys have a great day.